Okay. We are in space 158 in the northern part of it, on the latest floor. And before we begin removing the latest floor, we want to record all the situation in this area. Here we are dealing with feature 629, which is the bins. So feature 629 is the bins that were located originally in the west-north corner of the space, and they are lying on the latest floor in this area. The latest floor is this floor that goes under them and then goes all the way towards the south. This is the top floor. This is the last floor that was built in this space. And we see some other remains of the bins that were sitting on top of that floor on the northern floor, on the west wall of feature 622.
Okay, stop.
In addition to feature 629 in this area, we have the pillar for the screen wall. That was also built on top of the latest floor. So the latest floor was going, actually, no, take that away. Can we start everything that I had? In this space, we are looking at the several floor levels, and starting from the latest floor level, which is here on top, and the majority of the floor that we see at the moment in this space is the latest floor level. So this is the top floor, which went all the way to feature 622, which is the west wall, this part of the west wall, and went probably up slightly. On the other side, on the east side, this is its continuation, and it went all the way up this internal wall or the pillar, like that. On top of the latest floor, what we have is the series of bin-like features, most likely bins, which are not preserved completely, but just their bottoms are well preserved, and they were sitting in the northwest corner of this space on top of the latest floor. The bins lying on the latest floor are here. This is their extension, and we have their remains in this corner. We don't know whether they went all the way to the internal wall. Most likely they have, but we don't have them preserved in that corner. And we have other evidences of the bins also on the face of the west wall of feature 622, which is here. These elements and these remains here belong to the bins as well. So we can imagine that they went at least on this side of the space, on the west side of the space. Then when we turn towards the east and look at the internal wall between spaces 158 and 86, we can see that the latest floor that I have been talking about extended all the way to this feature, to the internal wall, and most likely went slightly up this way, turned into plaster, wall plaster, but we don't have those remains preserved. These are the indications that, or rather the evidences, that in this part of space 158, we had the space used in the very latest stage of life in this house. And we think this happened after the two collapses of the west wall of the building 3, and after the wall was shored up and the central part of space 158 actually ceased being used. This northern end still was in use, and was in use as a storage area for the bins. Under the latest floor, actually in the latest floor, we can see the cut, a big cut here in the central area. We are not entirely sure if this is a cut or if this is just heavily damaged floor because of heavy walking on it or heavy use of this part of the floor. There are some possibilities that this is a burial, even though the cut is not so even, so nice as we have in other cases, and that makes it less likely that this is the burial, but there is that possibility. So on the latest floor, under the latest floor, we have series of earlier floors. One of them is this one, and then under it we will have this floor, which we can see on the west side of this space. And under all of these floors, what most likely we have, and here is the indication of it, is the original internal wall of this house, which was built of red bricks and had plaster. This white line is indication of the plaster. And we have the same type of bricks made of the same clay used for the original west wall, which is feature 635, and that we have just recently discovered. Now, I have to say that this could be either the original wall of the house, feature 635, as well as this internal wall, or it could be actually the remains of the previous house in this place, on top of which we have our building 3 built. We can
Okay, Laurie and Başak here have done sterling work today, finally finishing the cleaning of this guide. And now Başak and they're both drawing. In fact, Başak's doing the drawing actually, and it looks lovely so far.
Thank you.
And so she's drawing it. We also took a photo for making a digital drawing to just compare the two techniques. And we also did detailed photography and video of this burial, that is 631 in platform 170. Over here in the northwest part of Space 86, feature 634, that we assume is another burial, and that's what it looks as though it's turning out to be. Laurie started excavating here the lid in various floor levels, and you can see it in this section there is the, she's actually on the packing now, but there's like a plaster lid in the profile there, and it's looks as though it was originally cut by the burial 617, but there's right now we can see there's a lid kind of on the west side. There is a tiny barrier between 617 and 634, and unfortunately 634 is after all going under the bulk. Not what we thought yesterday, but